Welcome back to Indie Housing Market. I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker.
I'm Shelly Walters with Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker. And today we are so honored to have Mayor Sue Finkam here with us.
Special guest.
She's going to give us all of her knowledge of everything she's planning or ideas. And just want to talk to her and also in regards to real estate as well today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. This will be fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun, at least for us. So,
See, it's getting a little hot over here.
Yeah. I mean, we just try to have fun with it. Like, we try to take a pulse of like what you see, kind of like what we hear, kind of boots on the ground, and kind of commingle it and kind of get some direction. And so, I mean, it's got to be interesting to be in your position where, I mean, we were talking about it a little bit before the show. You hear a lot of complaints, a lot of ideas from people, and they don't understand how intermingled everything is and how, like, everything is just much, much more complex than you think. Like, if we want to do one thing, we have to look at 10 other things to see how it impacts all these other things, because, you know, you have to do things to the best of your ability to not upset other people off of one decision making, which is really complex. But it's got to be very interesting, specifically in Carmel, just because, you know, like, I don't know, some of the issues that we deal with here are very kind of like first world problems, but there's also very real issues as well, right? And so, like, you have this huge swing of a pendulum. Like, I don't feel like you deal with a lot of middle ground issues. It's either like, we're seriously talking about this right now, or it's like, yes, we need to get this fixed right away. So it's got to be interesting for you to navigate as you kind of embark on this.
Yeah, especially coming off of just somebody who has done it for quite a few years. And so just really wanted to have your ideas and stuff about what you're going to do now as a new term, starting fresh, everything. I'm so proud of you for being our new mayor. I mean, I just know you're going to do an awesome job. So one of the things we just kind of wanted to talk to you about is maybe some of the hot buttons and what your thoughts are. We see a lot of the complaints in the city of all the apartments. What are your thoughts on any more apartment plans coming into Carmel?
Well, let me step back just a second to kind of give context to what you were talking about, which will lead into your question. Around the country, Carmel is truly recognized as a crown jewel of a community.
Yeah.
I just had the pleasure of going to the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which winter meeting, which was a couple weeks ago in Washington, D.C. And one, it's a testament to the effectiveness that Mayor Brainerd has had, and also putting Carmel on the map. But as other mayors will recognize me as the new mayor of Carmel, they're like, oh, what a great community. The things that you guys have done there, I wish I had, you know, this, and that, you know, what you guys have as far as housing stock or a highly educated community, the transportation network, the entertainment district, on and on and on. So it's really recognized around the country. I think I would love to put our Carmel residents in a room to be able to get feedback from across the country like I got that week.
Oh, that'd be very interesting.
You know, I think we are so focused on your house, your street, your city, you forget just how it's playing across the country. And we are really recognized as just one of those super special communities in the United States. And that's great. I think we're all blessed to be here. I think one of the fun things for me, even though campaign, I can't say it was fun the entire time.
I can't imagine,
I can't imagine what it's like to be on.
It's hard.
I know you dealt with some things.
It's hard. I underestimated the amount of time and energy it would take.
And emotional drain.
Yeah.
And that's with you, like, kind of going into prepared for sure, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you know what know what it's going to be, but then it's what it really is, and it was a lot. So I feel like one of the best parts was going around the community and listening to people.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I want to do is make sure that continues. I feel like people are really honest and open and shared their opinion, and a lot of that was around housing. I think we've had so much growth, which again is incredible for us because a lot of communities are going backwards as far as population, economic development, jobs, especially if you're in the sub-suburban or rural market.
Yeah.
It's not always a good story. In fact, rarely is it a good story. So in this economy, the fact that we are booming and with high quality projects and a super demand for people wanting to move here.
Oh, yes.
And for employers wanting to tap into our talent, it's an incredible story. And so as a result, we've grown, I wouldn't say quickly, we've grown consistently, and we've grown strategically. And with that comes changes in the community fabric. It's not the small little town where you can pull up in front of everything and park with the 4 open spots that are always there. And so people have noticed that. I think our increased density with the height of some of the buildings has changed, right? The massing along the street feels different, but it provides for incredible opportunities. A little history, and then we'll get into your question on apartments, is you want to make sure that when you're building a community, you have opportunity for everybody, all sorts of different types of housing product. But also you want to make sure that you are housing people who can provide your economic engine for the future.
Yeah.
I just had an opportunity to go to the Urban Land Institute for Indiana real estate trends last week, I think it was. Time is going fast right now, but I think it was last week. And one of the questions that was brought up kind of was contemplative is, do you have enough 40-year-olds in your community, because they are going to be working for the next 25 years.
Yeah.
So that was just, and there was lots of other points brought up, but that was an interesting thing that I took away from that, to make sure we're looking at truly the age and demographic of those people who live here, not just work here.
And consistently from where we sit, typically you say somebody's going to live in a house for 7 years, right? This is generally what we see, except for when you get to about that age, it's 15. That's just the reality of it. And so they tend to stay longer in that house around that 35 to 42 age, I would say. Like that tends to be a permanent residence until retirement almost, right? So they're going to be a major contributor in a variety of ways to your commerce, to your tax base, to whatever it may be.
So as realtors, you want lots of younger folks buying houses because they're going to turn them faster?
No, I don't.
Just an interesting thought, though.
Because the younger people, their dads come on inspections and they want to tell me how one loose nail is going to bring down the house. Anyways, that's
we're not buying the house. My dad said no. Yeah.
That should be a whole show. Just get some dads on here.
Oh.
Actually, like that age group is the best because they have been they've gone through, I love working with everybody, right? But first time home buyers, like I'm teaching a lot, which is what I love to do. And then that middle age, they've kind of experienced it. But then like on the very far back end, somebody is suddenly an expert because they're like, I've bought and sold 4 houses in my life. And I'm like,
not in the past 3 years.
I'm like, we did that last week, but like, I get it. You did over a 40-year span. So it's just very dynamic what we deal with. I love it. But
so in regards to your comment, so that would be something that you're, as mayor, would have to start looking at the type of housing we need for what we need to make the city continue to work and thrive.
We had a lot of questions asked on campaign. How many houses do we need? How large are we going to grow to? How many apartments are we going to build? Don't we need more condos? Like lots and lots of those questions. And it's not like we have a playbook that says, well, this is where we're heading, this is what we're doing.
Because the community evolves within that as you're doing it. So there's not a permanent answer to that.
And market needs and demands change. And of course, the interest rates change. And what we're seeing right now, obviously you guys are living it, is the younger folks can't afford houses right out of college. They have way too much student loan debt. They don't want, as a demographic, they don't want to be tied down to a mortgage. They're not really sure if they're going to stay in the community. And so renting allows them an opportunity to preserve a little cash, pay their bills, and also test out a community. Mm-hmm. But we're seeing this renters for choice and 55 plus that's unprecedented in our times. And that is those who don't want to downsize and put money back into a house, because you're not going to get your return investment sometimes for over 10 years, depending on what they do to the house and the market. They want to have their cash in the bank. They want the flexibility to lock it and leave it and go to Florida. And they want this active lifestyle, which is like the Monon really affords them, but we don't have lots of single family housing subdivisions all along the Monon. So we have to be sensitive to market trends too. But one of the things I did commit to is a housing study. There's lots of housing studies out there. Noblesville is just one completed one. The Metropolitan Planning Organization has. Baggy has a Builders Association of Greater Indianapolis. So there's lots of data out there, and we have our own data. Trying to get our arms around all that's out there to really get a snapshot of who's living here, what type of housing stock do we have, what age group is it, what is age of the housing, and what is the cost, demand.
Yeah.
So to understand that, and then look at the types of jobs we have in the area as well, because obviously people move to a community they love now, and employers want to be here because of their potential workers are here. So we have to be really sensitive to that. One of the things that was also brought up that ULI discussion was what's the burden on the school system? The school system say they want more kids, right? The numbers have gone down. They're fully ready with the buildings that we have to serve more children in our community. But if you all have all 55-year-olds, you're probably not getting the younger kids,
Correct.
So you have to look at elementary versus middle versus high school. Obviously, our school board and school superintendent and others there are looking at those trends, and they're involved in decision makings that the city does, in what projects are coming and what's the impact on schools.
I was on the redistricting committee 3 different times for the Carmel Clay Schools. Fascinating project to go through, and lots of maps and moving parts, and that's just not thrown at the wall and we pick one.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot of work. So, yeah,
Well, because you only have so much space for kids, and then that pivots as to where the children are, right? And it's interesting you bring up the condo, actually not even the condos, the apartments. So, as you get this older generation that is beginning to rent more, the other problem you have with that is they tend to have, more financial access, right? As far as what they want, nicer amenities, they have more money because they've been working, they're retired, whatever it may be. So then all of a sudden, there's a demand for that as well. So it's going to be a nicer apartment that's going to cost more, which can then outprice that person who's just post-college with all this debt and all this stuff. There's just never a perfect answer to any of it, and there's so much involved.
And that has to do with when people say we're bringing apartments, I know some of the comments are that, well, we need affordable housing. Well, the apartments that are coming in here are not really considered in the affordable housing sector. So what is some of the things that you might see that are still a deficit that you want to kind of look into for it? I know you're doing the housing testing and all that stuff. What do you see?
I think what I'm hearing from is that my phone was annoying everybody, so we're going to put it on the floor.
I feel like you're important enough that you can take that phone call.
If it makes you feel better, it was a spam call like everybody gets.
Oh,
right. Can I tell you about your car's extended warranty? So it turns out mayors get those calls also. That's encouraging.
But I think there's 2 things I've heard consistently in the last 8 years in particular on council is we have those who have lived in their 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 3,500 square foot home on a half-acre lot, and they want out, and there's nowhere to go.
Correct.
And so we're losing those people who have loved our community for 20 to 30 years,
help
put
make
their
it what
kids
it
through the
is.
system, absolutely paid for the taxes to improve the roads in the school, and then have to leave. So they're going to Noblesville, Westfield largely. And I think the other thing is then our apartment dwellers who now, again, a lot of times I think the average time in an apartment now is 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
Have now, again, also invested in our community. Haven't necessarily paid property taxes directly, but certainly their local income taxes are going to support our community. They want to stay here because now they have their friends and family around, and there's nowhere to go right there. So it seems to be, and both of those demographics are wanting condo flats, easier living, access to high amenities in newer construction, in particular the newer construction, and around the area they have their apartments. Right, so it's very interesting, and so we're trying to again figure out what's the balance, what do we need to offer, and I think again looking back and making sure that we're offering a good mix for all life stages and all income levels.
For the record, though, really good problems. Everybody wants to live here
Yeah.
and stay living here. That's the problem.
And
we're
we
dealing
talk
with.
about it
Yeah.
on here a
Exactly.
lot is the amount of phone calls I get from out of state, out of the
People wanna
country
come here,
saying, I
yeah.
want to move to Carmel. And I always just ask,
They don't even know anything other than.
how did you
it's
pick Carmel?
amazing.
Well, I saw on the internet it's the best place to live in the United States. And I thought, okay.
So let's talk about
That's all
that.
the research we've done. That
Exactly.
seems sufficient.
Check. Let's
That's all
talk
they
about
do.
that.
They
'Cause we
don't-
had that recent Wall Street Journal article.
Yeah.
It was 4 or 5 incredible amount of coverage in the Wall Street Journal in the
Yeah.
mansion section, technically. And I feel like that should be one of the things that we're really promoting everywhere for businesses to come here or whatever. But you do hear that as well. That's what you're hearing is people are Googling, so to speak, Carmel and saying it's a
I
great
would
place.
say anybody coming out of state that's not a relocation for a job, 80% of them just saw it on the internet as
Yeah.
a great place to live. They're just changing their lifestyle. They're getting out of the big cities, Chicago or LA or New York
Dallas.
City.
Dealt
I mean,
with
they're
Dallas.
just coming into, they just want a nice hometown feel. And it amazes me that somebody can just read these articles, but there's so many out there that they can just Google and go, Carmel, Carmel, Carmel. So, yeah, everybody wants to be here. Our phones ring, and literally that's what they say. I just heard about it on the internet. We're coming.
Yeah, and it's interesting because if it's not for a reload, like sometimes it is somebody who wants to buy, a more expensive house, right? But people, they don't like that. We're trying to, because we want it to be affordable for everybody, enjoyable for everybody. And kind of get away from that connotation of like, I don't know, a very disproportionate, unfounded kind of connotation it had in the 90s of affluence. But that person who may be moving here to live here may also bring a company that has 1,000 jobs, right? That then, it's so much more than people think. And I get it, we just want to think about our own front yard and our own backyard, but there's a lot more to it. I don't envy you with what you have to do, because no matter what you make with any decision, it will always be 50-50.
It'll be an aversion by somebody.
I always tell people decisions divide.
Always, yeah.
It could be, with your kids, we're going this place to dinner or that place to dinner, but every single decision you make divides. And I feel like in my style of leadership is to give the why. This decision is important, the how we came about making this decision, the data behind it, and then the rationale for why I made that decision.
Vision for it.
Yeah, and I feel like people at least respect that. Can still decide to disagree with you.
Because some people don't give that.
Yeah.
You just say, here's what we decided.
Yep.
But
Which is like, as a parent, when you're talking about eating, like sometimes it's just like, because mom and I want to go here. Like, you don't have a say.
Yep.
Like, we want sushi.
Sometimes
I don't
the
care.
authoritarian way is easier for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I get back to the affordability thing that you said, is when we do have people coming here from other states, they are amazed at the affordability of our homes here. They're like, I can get what for how much?
Yes.
So
It's
our
cheaper
idea of
nationally.
affordability and everybody else's idea of affordability is we are sitting in an area is very affordable to the United States, idea.
We had it made in the shade for a very long time. We were
did.
like, kind of like, America's best kept secret, and we just secrets out. I mean, that's just the reality of it,
I think we had a nice market correction that was long overdue for the housing values. I think I moved here in 2007, and my house was essentially worth the same amount until right before we moved in 2020. It adjusted a little bit. I also bought at the height of the market in 2007.
Yeah,
I did that as
we
well.
Looked at,
Recognized that as well. But even so, it was probably only would have made a 5% difference there. So looking historically, so it needed a market correction. I think that was overdue, and it was a big shocker to people. As we talked earlier before the show, but it also provides an increase in assessed value, which is an increase in wealth for those who have bought many years ago.
And it was rapid and dramatic, which is not generally how people like to change.
And not in Indiana. Typically, we saw those Arizona, California, Florida, big highs and big lows, and we were typically just even Steven going through the years, and
which is good.
It is more reliable, predictable.
And then talking about rental by choice, I know that there were some concerns as Airbnbs became more and more popular. What's your thoughts on Airbnbs?
Well, I was part of the council that supported our decision to restrict them somewhat. We had some bad actors come into town with Airbnb rentals, and our neighborhoods really revolted. And technically, we talk about local government being the smallest form of government. It's really the HOA. And so we allowed HOAs to put restrictions in. They still have to, amend their covenants.
Yes. And that's very hard for them to do.
It is. But we also put restrictions on the number of days could rent. So I felt like we had, it's not purely let the market go, but it's also not, I think, overreach by a local government. I think it was truly balanced, and it was a public process and got lots of input. And I feel, now people can come through with a variance and request more days to rent, as long as no one's really fighting it. There's a good shot they're going to get the opportunity to do that. So I feel like we reached a balance.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to be happy, going back to decisions that divide.
Right.
We did get grandfathered in because the state of Indiana said you can't restrict that, and we already had ours in place, so we got grandfathered in. And I think it's working for us right now.
Yeah, I know it was a big concern in the beginning, and just kind of a change. But
Now
Kyle,
we're regulating pools, by the way, right?
What?
Now pools are the issue. You can rent a pool like you can a home on Airbnb.
I'm sorry. Okay,
yeah,
hold
wait.
hold up.
What?
Yeah,
Hold up.
so it's very interesting. So
How
you
much
could,
are we charging? Because I may install a pool. First of all.
I don't think
Like,
it's worth that headache. That's my personal
I
opinion.
can imagine the umbrella policy, but
Yeah,
Rent a
exactly.
pool?
Okay, wait a
Yeah,
minute,
so
go
if you
ahead.
have a pool, our last house we had a pool, so I could go on a website like Airbnb,
Throw a
list
pool
my
party?
pool, and someone could rent it
in
to
your
a pool
backyard while
party.
you're in your house.
Potentially, for sure, or gone. Depends how brave you are.
gosh.
I wouldn't take the liability on it
No.
ever. And I think, we've had some challenges in neighborhoods where the pool is a different party every day in the summer. And so that's hard for neighbors. And so I know there's something
couldn't
coming
imagine.
through
I'm looking
our
it up. Sorry,
process
I'm on my
to,
phone.
I'll tell you company names later. I'm not going to do it
This
now.
is
Yeah.
straight off the presses. I love this.
Some of our neighborhoods in Carmel, it's not new. They've been dealing with it. So
Are you talking
Really?
about the HOA pool or somebody's backyard?
someone's backyard.
Someone's backyard.
Yeah.
Rent a pool in
Yeah.
Carmel.
So
That's
I understood
insane.
there's been some bad things that happened too, where people die of the water in the pool, right? So it's not been
That's what I
helpful.
said.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I would never have taken that on, but
Oh, so
again,
everything bad that you can imagine would happen with this has happened.
God bless entrepreneurs.
Oh my God.
Capitalism.
I have the name of the website.
It's interesting. Like, so like my neighborhood, I live in McCordsville, and we
Wow.
having a rental property is
Found it.
it's a way to wealth, right? For somebody, and so our HOA changed, which I really like this idea. Is you can rent, but it has to have a homestead on it and be a primary residence for, I believe, the first 2 or 3 years that it is owned.
Yep.
So what we're encouraging is, like, if you live here and you're an active member of this community, and then you end up buying, a snowbird house or whatever it may be, we want to give you the ability that you still get to own something here and you can rent it out. What we didn't want is large companies coming
America's
in and buying
Home for Rent.
Yeah, exactly,
Yep.
something like that. So we still want to give homeowners the ability to achieve their dreams. We just didn't want corporations coming in to prevent other people from owning their dreams. So that's kind of like how
Well,
we
there's
did it in
some
my
new
neighborhood.
builds. I think is an amazing decision by some of the new builds, the companies that are allowing them to go straight from construction to rentals, and
I know Fishers is up against that right now. I know they're dealing
Correct.
with a lot of this right now.
Yeah.
So
And we haven't dealt with as much of it, probably because it's the cost of ownership and
Yeah.
the carrying cost is
Yeah.
more. Also, a lot of our HOAs have been
Ahead of the curve.
very active in what you're saying as well. So I feel like there's an opportunity there to kind of pull it back. I think, as the interest rates come down, though, I think we'll see maybe more activity in that area too.
Yeah.
But it is interesting.
that's interesting. I'm stuck on this 4th of July, I said 4th of July because that's what I was going to segue into. But this pool renting thing.
I found it.
What
I
if we
found
just
it.
do hot tubs? Is hot tubs like a cheaper?
There may be a website for that too.
There's actually
there may
a
be a
company.
website to rent your grill. I don't know.
Oh, there's actually a company that will deliver hot tub to your house. It's a portable hot tub.
Oh, interesting.
That sounds so unsanitary. I'm sorry.
Well, hopefully they clean it.
The hot
between.
tub is rented by the hour. The pool's rented by
But
the
I
day.
know you have a really burning question for Sue.
Okay, yeah. We deal with this every year, and I just think it's so funny. I don't. It's just like I don't troll it. Nothing.
It's the culture of Carmel.
It's just sit back with some popcorn and watch people just like fight through social media, which is like the worst part about our society. But when it's over something so comical, it's just like entertainment. The 4th of July chairs situation. I mean,
I can tell this is deeply disturbing to you.
I just love it because it's just divisive, right? Like that's all it is. And it's like this entirely wholesome, beautiful community event that is just like so well done, and we're arguing over chair placement and when you can do it.
When you can do it.
I like Shelly had an idea where you have to like pay to rent space, but then that goes back into it'll be like this horrible narrative of like Carmel's just trying to make money, like, whatever it is. It's just ridiculous.
We'd have to
But-
put some people in collections, right? 'Cause they wouldn't pay.
Well, yeah.
There's a lien on your house
just
because of your
kidding.
chair.
Well, and like I would pay for mine because I'm not going to say where mine is, but our family has one.
Look at that.
every
You won't
year.
even give up the
No,
location.
somebody
It's like a
come take
treasure
it.
map.
It is a great place to go.
Is that
So I'm not going to
scarcity
give anybody
mentality?
an
If
idea.
If somebody pays me, I will give up Shelly's spot.
You did say it earlier. You did share.
I know, but I'm not doing it here because I want
Not
to
on the
have it
record.
every year. We have like 15 to 20 of our family that goes and sits there every year. So we go about 3 days beforehand. We're not really like the 7 days out, but I've seen them. You're not gonna change this, are you? Are you gonna squelch this, or how do you feel?
I am not touching that one with
Oh my
10-foot
gosh.
pole. I feel like what an incredible. First of all, thanks to the Rotary Club here in Carmel,
Yeah.
right, for putting on Carmel Fest, the parade, and everything that comes after it, to create this incredible environment for our families to enjoy.
That
and
everybody
make
wants to
memories.
come. Yeah.
Yep. And then have,
and make sure they can see.
exactly. But what people have to remember that we've got this incredibly long street with lots of stuff on either side, and the past few years we've seen lots of open spots. So I heard people say, well, I didn't go because I couldn't go till later. There's still people.
They don't
can still
even go
enjoy.
investigate to see if there's
people
spots,
can
yeah.
still enjoy.
Well, I can tell a secret is because I see it happening. We're there sitting, and people they take that rope or however they've decided they're going to make their space. Well, some people don't show up, so the ropes get pulled, and then there's spaces left. So you can come right before the parade because everybody squeeches into because they didn't get all their people, or they made that rope way too big. So that's my secret. Come right when the parade's about ready to start. You'll find spots.
Just act like you're part of someone's group.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
What I would
Hi,
like-
Uncle Jim.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah, I
friends
haven't seen
with
you in so long.
Yeah.
You don't remember
You look so
me?
different.
You don't remember me?
It's just so interesting the way, like, I don't know. I just think it's just so.
It's a great community
It
that we
is.
literally want to be at the parade and have a family event
Yeah.
and make sure we can see it.
And it's
And
safe
people do
and
sit
clean.
at the same place all the time. We do, and I know others do. I mean, it's just like, I know people, they literally tailgate. They bring the tents and everything.
Which is awesome.
It's
it
a
is.
great thing, and some people just really want to complain about it.
Where I'm from at Martinsville, we have a fall foliage parade, and it
do
is
you?
very similar. And it's not
Do you
like
put
that.
the chairs out?
No, but yeah, I mean, people do that, right? And they tailgate, and you're in everybody's front yards, and there's these big like house parties with crock pots and all of that stuff. But it's also in the fall, right? So there's no fireworks, so it's just for the parade. So you just have to get on the parade route versus like, I actually think the Carmel situation's even easier because we're like shooting stuff in the sky. So there's like usually good vantage points. Whereas like for the parade, it's a little bit different, but there's just always a huge turnout for it. It gives you a sense of pride and ownership of your community. And it's just a really neat thing, but it's nowhere near, like what, the 4th of July is.
I think it's a great tradition, and I'm glad you're not going to touch it.
I would love to have more of a homecoming parade as well, and
Oh, yeah.
that's one of the things I would like to talk to the superintendent about. So there's another spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
And also, speaking of greyhounds, I want to start. Well, I've kind of already started working on it, but some type of commission, committee, whatever, working group of former Greyhound graduates who can help me put together a plan to recruit Greyhounds back to Carmel.
like an advisory council.
Yeah, so I've
okay.
got a couple that have, 4 people so far that have graduated anywhere from 7 to 10 years ago. When I was at IU Health and Marketing, we recruited physicians back to our system, and the sweet spot for us was graduates from somewhere in Indiana who'd gone to IU Med School and then left to find a job somewhere else, maybe their first job out of residency or whatever. And there's a sweet spot to bring them in. It was like 5 to 7 years past residency. There's got to be a sweet spot to bring Greyhound kids back, and they may not really be aware what an incredible community and dynamic community we have, because when they remembered it, they were teens. It's a different perspective when you're a teen going through school. But now
because you hate everything.
You do.
Yeah, okay.
You always just want to look outward. You never.
As
get
someone
away
who
from
has a
here.
15-year-old boy in my house, yes.
I have a 22-year-old. We've had the same conversations, right? And so I really want to put this Greyhound, what I was joking around saying, bounce back program, like get them, bring it back to the community. I'd much rather have Greyhounds coming back and living in our community than people from California and Chicago, just because it's affordable, right?
Yeah.
I want people who have an emotional connection to this community, love it. It would help us philanthropically. It'd help us with the alumni. It'd help us support the schools.
Give back.
Yeah, and so we're going to do some
And then
things
the
to bring it
homecoming
back.
parade would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
for the
More
record,
people.
the homecoming parade, when we moved, so we have this office building is, I think we've been here 5 years now, right? And that first 2 years, I just totally messed up, and I would head up north, and I would try to shoot over, and I got stuck by that parade twice.
It's very short, though.
That's a bad day.
It's very, very short.
It feels long when you're sitting in a car. It might be short when you're watching it, but when you're sitting there with like bumper to bumper traffic, you're like, crap. Like, this is horrible.
You just don't go near the high school at 4. You just need to know your timing.
I shoot down range line and then cut over these days.
Yesterday I had a rookie mistake trying to do filming for a business shoot in the middle of Main Street.
Yeah.
As bus after bus after bus after bus is going on Main Street.
It's a small city coming and going. It is. That's what I always tell people. It's just a small city. Wait for it to happen.
Oh, so speaking of that, as I'm sitting here looking at it, and you're talking about traffic on range line these days. Why
stuck.
It went from like perfectly fine to like bottlenecked like 3 days ago.
Well, 2 days ago, was it yesterday? 2 days ago, this is kind of a funny thing about all of our roundabouts. How many more do we have coming that that are coming online? But I live here in downtown Carmel, and the power went out.
Yesterday.
Yes, yesterday.
Yeah. So the school was, after school stuff. So everybody's leaving the school. Everybody's leaving the library. And I'm thinking, shoot, the only traffic light in Carmel, I'm sure, is out. So I'm like going anywhere near the one traffic light. And I saw just bottleneck around that traffic light. So we can't do that now, right? It's too late. That building's up.
Someone was flying down Main Street because they were not paying attention that the lights were out. And I was luckily
For the record, as you say that, the one time out of the past 700 days. So that's a fair assessment that I thought it would work.
That's Raquel talking.
I'm like, are you kidding? Like, the light's out. Like, stop. It's a stop sign. Like,
Did he stop?
He slammed on his brake.
But did he stop?
Well, if we want to talk more about the weirdness of Carmel and all of our roundabouts.
We always want to talk weirdness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I
weirdness
love
of
it.
the roundabouts.
I
and
like
everybody
uniqueness.
Yes, that's good. Uniqueness of everybody talking about our roundabouts. So actually, Raquel and I were in the car yesterday, and there was the student driver in front of us, and he turned his turn signal on to go in the roundabout. So I'm like, they're teaching them that. Like, I always use them, and then you'll see people saying, you don't use them, that's not right. But they're teaching it, I think, because he used his turn signal.
Okay, for the record, as somebody who's been through the roundabouts millions of times, like sometimes I accidentally do it. And then like when you do it, do you like shut it off and you're like, I'm an idiot? I can't be the only person who does that.
I think you're supposed to use them.
You
That's
think?
the whole debate.
Well, like, no kidding, you're going right.
What's our rule?
You can only go right. Like if I see a left turn signal, I'm concerned.
But I want to know you're turning so I can just go. So what's our rule here in
So our
Carmel?
rule is you don't have to use them. And this is how I knew my son was actually paying attention when he was probably 15. In fact, it was because he had either was just getting his driver's license permit or had just gotten his license. He came home just hopping mad from school because there was a proposal in front of City Council to require the use of turn signals leaving in the roundabout. And he was so mad. Him and his friends have been talking. He was so mad. I'm like, so now you know what your mom does on City Council?
Yeah.
There's the benefit. So that was turned down because we felt it was very difficult to enforce. And we felt like our police had better things to do than enforce the use of a turn signal exiting the roundabout. However, that is a common courtesy. It does actually allow traffic to flow better because if you see someone like at Main and Hazel Dell as they're leaving the roundabout, flip their signal on, you don't have to wait for them to
it
determine.
speeds it up just a little bit.
Yeah, and so it does help traffic flow better. So it is advised that when you're leaving the roundabout, you give a signal if someone's waiting for you, but it's not required. But they do use that in
So I should no
Europe.
longer think I'm stupid when I accidentally do it.
I would not advise.
Have you ever accidentally done it?
Oh, of
Well,
course.
it's
Of course.
accidentally. I do it on purpose.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
common
but not
courtesy.
everybody
Okay,
is a great
back
citizen
to-
like you.
Back to our guest. What is some of the things that you have in your vision for the next 5 years? What are you excited about that you're just ready to go?
Well, putting a comprehensive plan for the city together, I think that's one thing that was hard to talk about in the campaign is what's our plan? We don't have one right now. So to put together a true urban plan where we're headed, we have lots of elements of it. Our planning division does a great job. But to really do that and engage the community, we have the comprehensive plan. But to get that, more publicized and built out, I think is advisable and more transparent. I think people don't know where to find some of this stuff. So we have most of what we need is there, just putting it together and publicizing it. I'm super excited to do a community-wide survey as well. That should launch formally next week, where we're really wanting everyone who works here, lives here, to participate and give
You
feedback.
really do?
I do. It's going to make my job harder in a way, and that we've asked for opinion.
And how's that going to go out?
As many ways as we can push it out.
Perfect.
We're going to do a little kickoff with the press so they can help us get the information out. But then, of course, social media and direct mail and all those fun things. So we're going to try to make people really aware of what's going on. Leave it open for probably 3 or 4 weeks. We'll see what kind of response we get. And then tabulate that and push it back out so the responses for everybody can see. Because, public safety is the biggest issue in our community. I feel like that for the mayor to handle. I'm currently hiring a chief of police, and it's the first time we've opened the process up like we have in a long, long time. And I'm really proud of that process. One, because we've engaged the Fraternal Order of Police and our police department as a whole in the process. And we've also got like a 14-person committee, and we've had them go through written questions, interviews, simulations of how they would handle things, one-on-one interviews with me. We're very close to selecting the next chief, and I'm just excited about that process because I feel like it's also saying this is how we're going to communicate and collaborate with our community on big decisions here, right? We're going to engage the community. We're going to work really hard on making sure we make the right decision and then be very transparent on why. And, we made the decision we did. And I'm excited about that for the future of Carmel. I think, at one point we were like the 13th most educated community if you look at the percentage of master's degrees.
In the state? Or?
I think it was in the county.
Okay.
And I don't know what those numbers are right now, but needless to say, we're a highly educated and engaged community. And
take advantage.
We should tap into that, right? That's
Yeah.
like gold mine. That's an asset that we have.
Well, I do think sometimes too the public doesn't know how to get involved.
I think that's
So
a big part of it.
You're
Agreed.
opening up a chance for them to see that your community to give back and forth, and that's a great way to find people.
I'm also super excited about, like I mentioned, the Greyhound program, bringing them back to the community, but also having lots of different smaller committees, can't get that word out, like Military and Veterans Affairs, small business, women in business, young people. I had a 5th grader last night deliver my report to City Council, and I'm going to do that every City Council meeting I can
awesome.
be there because I think it builds character and self-confidence and gets her eyes open to local government just a little bit.
My son was a page at the
I
state.
love
Maybe you
that.
could do that
Oh.
here. You're just
I used to
actually
do
your
that.
own little
I
page
had a
program.
page program set up, and then I decided to run for mayor. I just had some things had to go, so
Yeah.
I do have a page program pretty
Oh,
much
he
rolled
was.
out.
We thought he would go into politics because he was
used to do
so
that.
enamored with
I did
that.
it for peas back in the day.
What?
Oh, we loved it. Yeah. Page programs?
You did it for peas?
Yeah.
Like
I love
eating peas?
No. Oh my gosh. How do I know more about this than you? Anyways, it's a man. It's a last name.
Oh, God.
yeah.
Sorry.
But anyways, that would be really, really neat to have people get engaged with it at that level.
Yeah.
Because
Talk about bringing your greyhounds back.
Yeah.
well,
Starting them young.
Yep.
it's a calling, right? So civil service is a calling, right?
Yeah.
And I think so. Obviously, you have people who are just like personality-wise driven towards that to a certain extent. But I also think there's a lot of people out there who would have kind of like that servant heart, servant leadership kind of situation if they were just exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Or
don't think
just
enough
asked.
people are
Like,
exposed to it.
you're asking, what do you think? What are your thoughts? And then all of a sudden they might think, well, or you see they're in writing,
Mm-hmm.
they might be a person that you're thinking would be a great asset to a committee that you're working on.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
I think one of the best things a mayor can do, one, beyond cheerleading, right? Because you have to be a cheerleader for your community.
Yeah.
You have to do it when you visit your state and federal legislators. You have to do it because if your mayor's not cheerleading your community, who is, right?
Yeah.
You have to do it when you're trying to find grant money. You have to do it when you're trying to woo businesses here and employees here. So you have to be a cheerleader. But I think the biggest power that a mayor has is to convene people of like minds and different mindsets, right? And convene, people around important topics like housing. So I feel like that is something that I'm most looking forward to, is the power of convening people around an idea or a concern or a public problem. Social media is great, but it's not for everybody, and there's a lot of voices that are missed in that process. And sometimes I think you have to be very intentional to make sure you get folks from our disability community to participate, our young people to participate, those who work here but don't live here, which, by the way, is about 75% or 85% of our city employees. We have a very small percentage that live here. So you have to be intentional about seeking out diverse viewpoints to make you successful. Yes, I had to run under a certain particular flag of, political brand, but when you govern for everybody. And I think it's important to keep that in mind.
I mean, I'm a good example of that. I'm in my office is here. I work out of Carmel, and I live in McCordsville, and I know more about Carmel and everything over here than I do about where I live, because this is where I spend most of my time actually is over here. This is where I do a lot of my business is over here. So I know way more about this, and a lot of my money comes over here because this is where I eat. This is where I do things. But it feels weird from where I sit to try to have input on what goes on here, right? So when we're talking about the 4th of July chairs, I don't ever want to say anything, because I don't live here, so I don't feel like I have a say. But I am a big I don't even know, I'm a consumer of this city more than most people who even live here to a certain extent.
And you're still a stakeholder, very important stakeholder, because you live here. I also want to give kudos where kudos is due to our realtors, since I'm on a show with many watching, is Carmel.
This is not paid for, by the way.
Exactly. Carmel wouldn't be the community it is without the hard work from our realty community, because you are our salespeople from day one. And from the messages you put on your websites to the postcards that you mail to the email things that you send out, all of that goes to brand. And I just want to say thank you. And one of the things we're working on 2 things. One is we are doing a rebranding for the City of Carmel, to make sure that we're really our visual and spoken elements of who we are and what we do really shine through. And we can be better partners to you by providing materials and information to you to sell our community as well. And perhaps and take it and make it your own by each group, but to really provide you with the tools and resources you need to really sell Carmel.
Yeah, and I know one of the things we have is Sell Our Cities, where is really a good event there. All the mayors from the area come and see. And there's every city has their own table. And I always I know people are still not paper as much as they are online, but I still grab all that stuff, and then you guys have a bag. And when people move here from out of state, I give them that bag at closing.
Yeah,
I still think
nice.
it's got all the bike trails and all the information is at that table. And I love going to Sell Our Cities when we can get all of that. So I still think the paper product is a great thing to have and to hand out, to everybody who moves here.
I want electric, digital realtors, kit, if you will, so that we're constantly, so when the Wall Street Journal article comes out, we're putting it in there.
That would be fabulous.
Just to keep building it, so then you can pick and choose what you need to sell that particular
or if somebody asks a question, I'm like,
yeah,
I saw this on the, whatever. Yep. But that would be awesome. Yeah, everything that can help us help sell, that would be awesome.
And you can rent pools here.
No.
Now they're gonna. Oh no!
We don't want to promote that.
No. Is it not real here? I think I found it.
Here,
I know.
It's getting shut down.
We're putting some regulations around that. Hopefully, we'll see what happens.
I love that it's regulations. I call that common sense. But I don't know. Usually regulations are built around
Some people don't want the government
of,
to step in, but sometimes you really have to start saying no.
But I we're going to go through our city code too and see how can we be a good partner to our residents and businesses that are here to make sure we protect public safety, but also aren't overly bureaucratic, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine
you don't want to
sitting
overreach.
on my patio and hearing the screaming and yelling every other day of the rented pool next door.
It's I could spend a day on this.
That's a whole other topic. Should not have opened the doors.
I'm like, what else can I rent?
Yeah.
Will people rent my lawnmower?
Probably.
Yeah. As an entrepreneur, I'm shocked that I hadn't thought of this. Quite honestly,
Well, do you have any last words you want to make sure you get out there to everybody listening?
For those that voted, I want to say thank you. It's an honor to be in this position. It's an honor to represent those that live, work, and play here. I'm just really looking forward to this year. We just kicked off all team meetings. I can't get that out. 675 employees going through meetings. So we're just kind of hitting expectations and painting a picture for them moving forward. And they were high energy. We've got such great employees that work for the City of Carmel that love this community. And so I'm going to take really good care of them, and so they can take really good care of everybody listening. So thanks for having me on today. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's
Absolutely.
been fun. You
It's
made it
be-
pain-free, so thank you very much.
I think the big thing is like with your transparency and what you guys are trying to accomplish, which is like,
And communication.
yeah, like what your goal is, like, what do you guys want us to accomplish? Like, what's the pulse of Carmel? And so I think the biggest things is people need to get involved, and whether that's at a minimum of the survey that you're going to do,
Yeah.
or on the back end, like get legitimately involved and reach out and see how you can get involved in getting on a committee or a subcommittee or on a volunteer basis or whatever it may be. Because then people start to understand things a little bit better, how things work, and then it's easier to come up with solutions because you have more eyeballs looking at something.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I like that. It's a very collaborative and transparent way to run it. So
Well, let's go over our stats.
Our
Just
stats.
here real quick at the end. Wanted to say for the past 7 days, what happened in Carmel. In the last 7 days, 19 houses went on the market. 9 of those pended, but a total of 16 pended, so almost a negative inventory again. There's 83 currently active on the market. That's really low for the past couple of months, which what I'm seeing is a lot of pendings is starting to take away our actives, because our actives were up to like 150 in December, so we're half there. 80 houses sold in the past 30 days with a list to sale ratio. Now this is interesting. I started to see a difference. The median was 99%. And the average was 97%. So
going
what
back
that's
up.
also what it's correlating to is our days on market for the past 30 days was 31 and 9 was the median. So we're getting back. Remember the 4 when we always it's just 4. It's just 4 days on market. Just 4. We went to 9, but the past 7 days the median was 5. So our days on market in Carmel have come down quite a bit. Westfield 33 hit the market. 9 of those pended, but a total of 28 pended, and that would be almost a zero inventory. 13 of the ones that pended were the new builds, and their days on market are averaging the past 7 days 14. And then currently active 166. We know a lot of new builds are part of that. Sold 98. Their average median was 100%. So we're seeing it go up. 98% was, I'm sorry, median was 100%. Average was 98%. So our prices are coming back up. But their average days on market the past 30 days was 52 and 33. So the past 7 days that went down 50%. Zionsville 6 hit the market. 2 of those pended, but a total of 8 pended. So negative inventory there. And their days on market are really high. 47 average, median was 44 for the past 7 days, but the past 30 days it's been 62 and 59. So their average days on market are much higher, and currently have active 40, 23 sold in the past 30 days. Their average was 97%, median was 98%. So all prices seem to be coming up a little bit.
yeah, I had similar stats. So in Fishers, I had 22 go on the market, anywhere from like 240 to 900. 17 of them are still active, so 5 pended, but a total of 23 pended. So I took negative inventory in both Fishers and Noblesville. But it's still, I mean, even though I'm losing like onesie twosies, if that makes sense, we're just basically fluctuating around 100 houses on the market currently, and kind of have been for a couple of weeks. But the average days on market has gone down significantly. So we're in Fishers, we're at 26 days on market, and median's 13, right? So 2 weeks. Noblesville, I had 20 go on the market, anywhere from 185 to 750, with 11 of those still on the market. So 9 pended, but 22 actually pended last week, right? So some of the stale stuff is kind of weeding itself out. 100 days on market, or 100 on market, 33 days on market for average days on market, and 7 for the median. But this is the stuff that like I like to talk about, that these numbers aren't going to accurately represent, and you kind of just have to trust me and Shelly, just with like being in the market and the pulse on the market. So I am swamped right now. I have listing appointments. I have to leave here for a listing appointment. I have a ton of buyers all of a sudden that have come out of the woodwork. We have multiple listings that are all going on the market here within the next like 30, 45 days. I had somebody reach out to me a couple of days ago about listing in April already, right? And then one of the houses that we took somebody to look at this weekend, it had been on the market 30 days, and they did a very minimal price adjustment, right? Like $2,000. And there was 4 groups at this property. And it's like, what's changing? It was sunny out.
Yeah.
We have not had sunshine for 3 weeks straight. One of my team members said it was like the longest we'd gone in January without sunshine in like recorded history, which is.
We
I
felt
don't-
that. Mm-hmm.
Whether it's made up or not, I don't know. It felt like that. Last Monday was like a really rough day, and then we started to get sun out. We had 2 days of sunshine this week, and it brought people out. And so I feel it out there. I mean, I was looking at houses last week, houses that need significant remodeling issues, and they're selling.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there are just people out there that are looking.
We said
and-
this, though.
Yeah.
We said this in December and January. We said we're going to see a very big. We're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
We've had more active buyers calling and ready to get into the market now.
Spring
so-
market is going to be.
It
I
looks
think
very
it's going
up.
to start
Yeah.
like early March compared to when it would usually.
Well,
start.
we're already seeing it.
Yeah.
With the days on market substantially and the list.
I mean, we're almost at
acceleration going
60
up.
like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
I know.
Like it's almost
Yeah.
been cut in half
Yeah.
already.
So we've already, here it is, the second week of February. It's
Yeah.
already changing.
Don't
Prices
forget
are
to
going
block
up.
off April 8th afternoon because that's the big eclipse and roads are going to be crushed. So don't have showings, don't have closings. Keep your little eclipse viewing part in your backyard.
Do you
with
have
your
a
Is it go-
plan?
it's gonna be-
This could be a city party. Let's
We
plan
could.
one.
I'm going to put my chairs out. And I'm going to leave them out from there
The
till
school
July
is renting
4th.
space in
Yeah.
the parking lot. So yeah, but that is
And they lost some
legitimately-
space in their parking lot.
They did. Yeah.
So is this
Are
going to
they
be
going
like
to add to
Y2K?
that the dirt area that's down lower? Is that going?
I don't know. You have to
I
ask
feel
the
I'm like
superintendent. Get him on the
I
on
know
the horn.
we
yeah.
do want to talk to him.
I wonder if it's going to be like Y2K where people like think the world's going to end. Remember how like at midnight people are like, it's going to be pandemonium. And then at 12:05 we're like, and we're just moving
lights
on.
are on.
Yeah.
Everything's good.
I should
Okay.
have went to bed at 10 like I
Yeah.
wanted to.
I do think though, like the market is just. I know what everybody.
Getting ready to
Not
break
everybody
loose.
wants it, but they want it to like settle down, and it is just quite the opposite. It is going to be very intense for, in my
We've got
opinion, the
pent up
next 18
demand. We keep
months.
saying it, and
Yeah.
the interest rates are
Coming
level,
down.
and they're coming a little bit down. People are just done waiting.
Yeah, and
Sellers
they've got
and
all this
buyers.
equity to your point, and people are starting to explore their options, and it's just getting intense. Things are clearing out, multiple offers are coming back, and I 100% will promise you that come second week of April, you will be offering over list on a house.
Potentially, and that's what we said with the buyers.
Depending on the
when
house,
was the
but
best
for the
time to
majority of
buy?
houses. Yeah, yesterday. Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and
thanks
we'd
for
love
the
to have you back
opportunity.
a little later
Would
when
love
you've
to,
had
yep.
a little bit under your belt of what you're learning. And
I want to have her back after the survey because I want to hear some
Yeah.
I just want to be on a fly on the wall for that. There's going to be some awesome stuff, and then somebody's going to be like, they'll just say the
I'll
craziest
send you the
things.
very pointed comments I get. How's that? Just for
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is
So
going to
we
be
can laugh, just
sidebar
laugh.
here. So I went to Rome back in September,
Uh-huh.
right? And one of the most interesting things I thought about that city was there are public drinking fountains that are hundreds of
yeah.
years old, and it's just flowing water. And it's from like so we don't have mountains that are having like runoff like from snow melt, but it was just baffling to me that they just have all these water fountains and
How
like,
did this come
for
up?
dogs. I don't know. We were talking about basically in my head, Shelly. Anyway, so we were talking about suggestions, and I was like, I wonder what would be a stupid suggestion, and I'd be like water fountains, and then I was like, oh crap, I just went to a place where they were at, and I thought it was awesome. So,
yeah. After COVID, you learned a lot about germs. So
yeah, that's very fair.
We
Evidently
are.
in Italy they did not. So
We're running a little long, so we just wanted to say thank you
Yeah.
and
Thank you.
give any information you want to have or how people can reach you, or give them
personal cell phone.
Actually, it's been out on the website for 12 years, so it's, I'm changing my website. or my
If you
phone
want
now.
input from the community or questions or
How can they
anything,
get a
what's
hold
your
of you?
best
Yeah,
email?
So the best thing is sfinkam, SFINKAM, no H, it will bounce, at carmel.in.gov. That is my personal email, so happy to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group from FC Tucker, and my phone number is 317-201-2601 if you want to call me and have any questions.
And I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker. My number is 317-649-5122. I hope everybody enjoys like a little bit of sunshine. I think it's going to get better. Groundhog said that it's going to be an early spring, but I think he's a liar. But anyways, I just really appreciate you coming on. It's an honor to have you here. I think it expands our horizons to just listen to what all you have to deal with day in and day out, and to get the word out for people to get involved. So I appreciate it.
Thank you both
Thank
your
you.
pros at this. This is fun.
Thank you. See you next week.